Straight off the block, the big talking point is going to be sugar, right? The government yesterday permitted the use of sugarcane juice and sugar syrup for ethanol production in the 2024-25 ethanol supply year. This is reversal of last year's restrictions which were imposed. We have Atul Chaturvedi, the Executive Chairman at Shree Renuka Sugars. We also have Prashant Biyani, VP Institutional Equity Research and Sector Lead for Agri Inputs, Sugar and Hotels at Elara Securities. Gentlemen, good morning. Great to have both of you early on here on CNBC-TV18. Atul, good morning. Prashant this side. If I can start by asking you to put the move in some context for us, because I think the restrictions came late in 2023 and expectation was that post-general elections they would be eased. Now it's, of course, been done. What does it mean for the industry and what does it mean for you?
Well, it definitely means a lot. In fact, we welcome this decision, which we were expecting. And in any case, once the crushing season was over last year, whether the ban was lifted or not lifted was meaningless. It makes more sense that now it is being lifted with the next season just around the corner. It actually basically reflects two things in our view. One is that the government is seriously committed to decarbonization by 2070, and last year's ban on cane juice and B-heavy ethanol was just an aberration, and it's a correction of the past issue. Secondly, it also reflects the confidence in the decision makers that the stock level as far as sugar in the country is concerned is adequate. And the next year's crop also looks to be quite all right. So I think overall, it's a very good decision. But honestly speaking, I actually consider this as just a work in process. Because the government had, before the elections, announced that next year's FRP or the fair remunerative price for cane would be jacked up. And the amount was also announced. So now it's important that the cane juice ethanol and the B-heavy ethanol prices are also suitably increased. There's just no sense that maize ethanol would be selling at 72 rupees a liter and cane juice ethanol at 65 and B-heavy at 60. So we expect the government to take suitable action to jack up this price. And all this is definitely positive for the sugar sector and even from the Renuka's perspective, because we are possibly the largest manufacturer of ethanol in the country, so it should help us, definitely. It's a very
right. Atul, if you can tell us, for the industry, so the ethanol price revision is also expected, but yes. Pending that, just with this move, will there be any, this brings certainty, sure, but beyond that, is there any earnings? Are there any earnings implications right away? Or do you think that will only sort of start to show up once the ethanol price kicker also comes in?
No, in fact, whether we like it or not, all these changes are going to be relevant once the next crushing season is started. Because cane juice, as of today, is not available because crushing is just not there. So I would say October onwards, it should start impacting the operations big time.
Mr. Chaturvedi, sir, just a quick question. Yesterday, I think there was another move. Now, a certain quantity of rice can be lifted from FCI in order to sort of use that as feedstock for ethanol. Just want to understand whether from Renuka's perspective, do you look at other grains at all, or do you restrict yourself to cane juice and molasses? And also you mentioned the increase, right, that the price has been static for ethanol. So what is the kind of increase that you would expect or that you would hope for from the government?
We are actually looking at an increase of closer to what the maize ethanol price is. Say, for example, as far as cane juice is concerned, which is about 65 rupees a liter, we want it to be jacked up to closer to 72 or 73 rupees a liter. And secondly, for the B-heavy, we want it to be suitably increased to about 66, 67 rupees. So that we hope the government would take suitable decision in the matter. And as far as your question on the rice is concerned, let's face the fact that India is struggling with massive stocks of rice. And this has also got augmented with the ban on white rice exports. So your stock levels have got built up. And the next year's rice crop also looks to be quite all right. So I think you could possibly say that 2.3 million tons of rice being earmarked for ethanol via the auction route, it could possibly be treated as an import substitute. So effectively, instead of exporting the rice, they have gone in for the import substitution via the ethanol route.
Got it. Mr. Chaturvedi, good morning. Nigel on this side. Wanted one number from you. What kind of distillery volumes you're factoring in for this year as well as for the next?
In terms of what? The volume of ethanol?
Yes.
Or?
Yes, volume of ethanol.
Oh. We would expect the ethanol volume to be pretty high. In fact, we've not done the numbers as yet. But
For Shree Renuka industry, sir, for Shree Renuka, what kind of number would you be working with?
Shree Renuka, we would possibly feel that this year we could be possibly doing more than 20 crore liters.
All right. And for the next?
Next could be higher. Next could be higher than that. In fact, our capacity is above 25 crores, and we see no reason why we should not be in a position to achieve that.
Okay, got it. All right. We appreciate you joining in, Mr. Chaturvedi, and giving us your first take on this. But let's get in Prashant as well, who's waiting by. Hi, Prashant. Good morning, and thanks a lot for speaking to us here on CNBC-TV18. How do you read this piece of news? I understand that maybe you are factoring in that this leeway will come, but maybe it's come sooner than expected. So your initial take, and who stands to gain the most by this?
Good morning. Yeah, so this move was expected, but the government decision of this coming in August is timely rather than waiting for crushing season to start for a decision. That I think is sentimentally positive for the sector. And yes, we were already expecting this. So numbers wise for FY 2025, the numbers are not changing, and the entire sector is going to benefit from this, from the normalization or resumption of the full-scale ethanol blending, and with the resumption of FCI, the sale of FCI rice for the grain ethanol manufacturers. I think the grain ethanol manufacturers as well as the dual feed manufacturers in sugar industry, these companies are going to benefit.
Name them, Prashant, that would be helpful. I mean, just from a distillery perspective, say for someone like a Chaturvedi Engineering, what is the kind of additional kicker one can expect on their ethanol side of the business? Or any of the other beneficiaries, really?
Right. So the benefit will largely come from H2, which is when the sugar season starts. So the benefit will be split between FY 25 and 26. But just from a sugar season perspective, if we talk about, then I think the volume growth could be anywhere between 20 to 25% for the larger companies like Balrampur. And for small players, depending on their capacity and what type of feedstock they use, the volume growth may be accordingly. But a good 20% volume growth is possible from a season to season perspective starting the next season.
And this is higher than before? This is higher than what you'd earlier assumed?
No, this is what we were assuming.
This is what you're assuming.
Because you were factoring in, I guess, the fact that sugarcane will also be opened up. Mr. Chaturvedi, sir, just one more point. The additional news that came in, I think, overnight was that the quota itself, the release quota for, I think, September and October is going to be a lot higher because we're getting into the festive period. The only other overhang in terms of regulatory action is opening up exports. What are you expecting and hoping on that front?
Has put your call on hold.
All right. Okay. I think we'll try and reconnect that through the course of the day. We'll get you some more reactions as well from other sugar companies. Mr. Chaturvedi, appreciate you joining in. Prashant, thank you very much for taking the call early in the morning, and thanks for your time.